Oh, what's good, YouTube, man? It's Gabriel with Another Fan TV, man. Back at you with this video. Like the content of this video, smash that like button. Like the content of this channel, go ahead and subscribe, man. Look, so hey, Ravens off season. We taking down. We're getting closer and closer to training camp, and you know this time of the year, a lot of lists come out, right? So I want to talk about ESPN insider Bill Barnwell. He did a list of ranking all 32 teams in their skill positions going into this upcoming season. So that's running backs, wide receivers, tight ends. So we're not talking about quarterbacks. We're not talking about linemen. Just running backs, wide receivers, tight end, right? And where do they rank, you know, amongst each other in the league, right? Or as a totality, as a group. Excuse me. So looking at this ranking, the Ravens are ranked 15th. Okay, so about league average, right? Is that right? Is that wrong? I don't have ESPN Insider, so I was able to get it off another website that showed just the AFC North, how the AFC North stacks up. So in terms of AFC North, right, the Bengals are 2, Cleveland is 12 on the list, Pittsburgh is 13, and the Ravens are 15th, right? So according to Bill Barnwell, the Ravens have the worst skill position in the AFC North, right? Now, right, let's talk about it, okay? To me, this is great. And I know this is gonna sound kind of crazy. Like, what are you talking about? Listen, I don't know what Bill Barnwell had the Ravens at last year, but I can guarantee you it's probably near the bottom of the list, right? In terms of skill position players, I can guarantee the Ravens are probably somewhere 27 or below. So for the Ravens to be as good as they've been on offense in these years past, right, with bottom rung skill position, right, mainly at the, wide receiver, we know the story, okay, but to get to league average at 15th is a major jump. That's a big deal for the Ravens, okay? And to me, I don't really care about where the Ravens rank amongst the AFC North. I mean, it's interesting to look at, but do I really care about it? Does it really matter to me? No. I mean, listen, the Bengals have, obviously, that's why they're ranked here. They have 2 of the best receivers in the NFL. You know, the Browns have good things going for them. The Steelers always have skill position players. But at the end of the day, the Ravens have been better than all of those teams, bar, Cincinnati or whatever. They've been going back and forth. So, to me, I'm not worried about where the Ravens rank in the AFC North. To me, this is what this means for me, right? Is the fact that the Ravens have been as good as they've been with subpar talent in terms of skill position at wide receiver, okay? Now you get to just being a league average running back, wide receiver, tight end group. Just league average. This offense could go to the moon because of that, right? Lamar Jackson has done a lot in his career. And a lot of his career has been lifting up the talent around him. Now, the talent that's around him can help Lamar Jackson. It doesn't have to be a Superman lifting up other people around him. It could be a collaborative effort between you're talented, I'm talented, let's go make something happen. And this is something that Lamar Jackson hasn't really had completely in his career, right? I do think a lot of Ravens fans underrate Hollywood Brown. This is a completely random thing, but I saw a Twitter list talking about, who are the best 5 wide receivers in Ravens history, and a lot of Ravens fans were hesitant to name Hollywood Brown on that list. I don't know why. If you look at what the guy's done for the Ravens, 1,000 yards, things like that. I mean, he was a good Ravens receiver, right? But so besides Hollywood, right, Lamar Jackson hasn't had another guy that was extremely talented next to him. He's had veterans, obviously. Your Willie Snead, Sammy Watkins, guys like that, on and on. But now he has supremely talented players really around him. Hopefully we get a really full, healthy season from Rashad Bateman. Zay Flowers is going to be in the mix, right? Obviously Odell Beckham, big sign of the offseason. I said Zay Flowers. Excuse me. Nelson Aguilar coming in. Devin Duvernay can play wide receiver. I know certain fans have how they feel about Devin Duvernay as a receiver. I think he can play receiver. I think he's a solid complementary piece. And in this offense, that's where he'll be. So, for the Ravens in this list to get up to 15th, because I'm sure it was quite a jump. Like I said, I don't have the list from last year, but if I had to guess, the Ravens were in that bottom half, right? Not even bottom quarter, right? So we're talking about 27 and down. I'm sure the Ravens were somewhere in that mix. I'm sure they were. So to go from that to league average is a great jump. It's a vast improvement, all right? Todd Monken's going to bring in a system that I'm hopeful that it will work, and I think that it will work just because of the talent on the team, and it's because I've seen him do it in the past with similar talent, right? So Buccaneers, he's done it with wide receivers. Cleveland, he's done it with wide receivers and running backs. So, and then Georgia, he did it with the tight ends. So the Ravens kind of have a mix of all those kind of different things that have worked for Tom Munkett in the past. So I don't see a reason why it won't work here. So the Ravens' perception around the league in terms of how they're viewed as a skill position is great. It's going up. So I didn't even talk about the running back position. So Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins at running back, if they're both healthy, these are two guys who average 5 yards a pop, right? Now, some of that is to do with Greg Roman, and he had a great running system. So there's no taking away from that. But these are two extremely talented running backs, all right? Gus Edwards is tough to bring down. We know that. J.K. Dobbins, I think this year is going to show that he's a complete running back. So we're not just talking about running the ball, right? We're talking about catching the ball at the backfield. I brought it up before, but I remember the season that he got hurt, unfortunately, in the preseason. Before that, he was talking about how the players he looked up to were the Christian McCaffreys, the Alvin Kamara's, the running backs who didn't just run the ball, but also caught the ball at a high level as well. I think Todd Monken will bring that kind of element to the offense because at Georgia, he did have a running back, Kenny McIntosh, who caught a lot of passes, right? Or, who was a threat out the backfield. J.K. Dobbins could be that exact same guy, all right? And then you move on to the tight end position, and we know what they have in Mark Andrews. We think we know what they have in Isaiah Likely, right? I wanted to see him a lot more last year, but from what I did see, I liked. And then Kolar seems to be coming along. So the Ravens' skill position, right? The Ravens don't have what they've had in the past, which has been a hole at skill position. We've had to ask questions about who is going to be that next playmaker, right? Outside of Mark Andrews, especially last year, outside of Mark Andrews, who's going to be the next playmaker? I think the Ravens have a lot of answers to that question. If Rashad Bateman is healthy, if Zay Flowers contributes, if Odell Beckham is healthy. So a lot of the stuff does depend on health, and that's always a risk, but it's football. Anybody can get hurt anytime. But the positive thing is this. 15th, last in the AFC North, don't care. The Ravens have done a lot of good things with a bottom tier skill position group, okay? Overall. Just getting to league average is a major improvement. In one offseason, getting to league average is a major improvement. And Lamar Jackson, you give him this kind of talent, more talent than he's ever had, I expect him to have one of his best seasons, especially throwing the football. I think he's going to be great this year throwing the football, all right? I expect to see a lot of things that were lacking last year improve this year. I really do. So I think that timing and anticipation, everything that's going to come along with it, I'm sure him and the guys are going to get together in Florida and work soon. So all that's going to come together, and the Ravens should have an effective passing game, should have just an effective offense overall, just because of the improvement of the skill position group, and you already have a talented top 5 quarterback in your midst already. So you put those two things together, the Ravens should be very, very well suited to have an explosive offense next year. So I thought this list was interesting just because I think it's just right. I think it's a fair ranking for the Ravens because while they have improved, we haven't really seen what the talent has done on the field. So I think it's a fair ranking. I think it's the appropriate ranking for the Ravens right now. They've gone from bottom to league average. And honestly, if you were being a realistic Ravens fan, right, and you were saying that the Ravens were at the bottom, just getting to league average, just getting to, well, I guess slightly above average because 16 would be just average. So just a little bit above average. That's great in one offseason. That's great. So what Lamar Jackson can do with that, what this offensive coordinator can do with that, with all these guys together, I think it's going to be really good for the Ravens. So that's my thought on it. How do you feel about the Ravens being ranked 15th in this skill position ranking? Is it fair? Too low? Too high? Right? Do you think the Ravens should be lower on the list? So, you let me know what you guys think. All right. But I'm going to get out of here. It's Gabriel. This is on the Fan TV. I'm out.